Guys, what I wanted to do in this video is to take some time to talk about the state text in Johnson Controls CCT Software. For you guys using PCT, you know that it's the same. It's just all about the packages that you have licensed in your software. But before we get started, I would appreciate it, guys, if you would give this video a thumbs up. Leave me a comment down below, and also check out the links down in the description. Those are affiliate links, and anything you buy through those links kind of helps to go to support what we do here. Now, for those of you guys who are new to CCT, what I'm going to do is just show you the current version that I am running. You can see here the the version that I'm currently running. Of course, I have running currently 10.5 firmware, and basically anything within this software package anywhere near this revision, it should be pretty much identical. Now what we're going to do, I'm actually going to basically create a blank project to talk about this. We're going to go up to File, New. This is something that you can select your packages, your controller for here. This is something that many of you guys, I'm sure, are familiar with, and you also can turn this off if you don't want this populating every time. You can just check this box here, and that way it won't come up every time you launch CCT. For now, I'm just going to leave this selected to unknown. Right here, I'm just going to call this, I want to do a blank system, so we're just going to go to Custom Applications, select that, and just call this Test. That way it'll give us just a blank screen. You can go through here and select all of the stuff that you would want if you were building a system, but we're not going to do that now. I want to get through this to show you guys what we're here for. Now, what I wanted to do is to create basically a blank application. That's what we're going to start with, because the lessons that we learn in that are going to help us. Of course, you've seen what I did. I went to the plus sign. I'm just going to grab an activity, just hit one of those, hit finish, and this is going to give us the blank slate that we need for what we're going to do. I'm going to right click on this. I'm going to go View Logic, and then I'm going to expand this. Now, I'm sure that many of you guys are familiar with what inputs and outputs are, especially any of you guys that have taken any kind of PLC classes. In CCT, we have three different types. We have a Boolean, which is basically your on and off, your enumerated, and then of course your floating. The floating is like an analog. It's a variable. The enumerated, the text on it can be virtually anything. So I'm just going to grab a blank enumerated out, and I'm going to double click into it. This is the state text option. I'm going to hit edit, and you can see here we have on and off by default. Okay, I can click into this and I can change this to a wide range of different states. Okay, there is just a huge range that you can see here. I'm just going to drag this up and down. 0 to 8 stages, 100 normal. I mean, it's just pretty much anything that you can imagine. Okay, you can also go through here and do a search, and it will bring you this window here. And what we're going to do, I'm going to select, for the purposes of this, off, on, and control. Okay, remember this number. You see this set here? Remember that. That's something that we're going to come back to. Okay, so with that selected, I'm going to hit OK. Okay, on, off, and control. I'm going to apply it. Okay, now we have on, off, control, and that is what our enumerated input is set to. Now, if I wanted to do something using this to basically drive a command hierarchy, okay, selection, I'm just going to pull this over, and we can see here command hierarchy Boolean output or enumerated output. For the purposes of this, since we're trying to work with state text within CCT, I'm going to go ahead and grab an enumerated, and I'm going to drag it out here. Okay, this is my command hierarchy. I'm going to do other videos on my channel talking about more of the details of some of these blocks, so be sure that you stay tuned for those. Subscribe to the channel. For those of you all familiar with command hierarchies, basically what you can do, you can have a set of inputs and outputs, and depending on the type of input and the type of output, you can go through and select different states for the output of the command hierarchy. For the purposes of this, I'm simply going to use a single input. That's all that we need. Okay, so I'm going to delete one of this. Now that I've got that deleted, that's all that I needed to do. The command hierarchy can be used for a lot of different things. What we're going to be using it for here, to give you a better understanding of the state text, is basically as a translator. Now, I'm going to go back and grab another output. So I'm going to clear off here where I've started typing in a search. I'm going to grab an enumerated output. I'm going to drag that over into my screen. Okay? If I tried to make a connection from here to my enumerated output, let's see something. It would probably let me. Let's go in here for just a second. You can see my output. You can see the enumerated state here. Since I've got 3 states as an input, I'm going to want 3 states as an output. So what I can do here, press my edit. I'm going to drop this down, and I'm just going to, well, let's just go ahead and pull the search up. It's a little bit easier to do this. We have the same option, on-off control. Do you remember earlier when I showed you that? The difference is, if I was using this for a translator, if I needed to translate those 3 states into something else, this is where I can use that command hierarchy. For example, I can scroll down, and depending on what I need for an output, I can find it here. You know, there again, this is just basically an exercise. This is just something to help you guys better understand the command hierarchies and the state text. So now I'm going to select, just as a test, I'm going to select off, on, and max. Okay, that gives me 3 states. I'm going to press OK, and I'm going to press apply. When I close this, get my panel back, if I needed to make this output connection, I click on this, you can see there, and I can try to drag it over here. It is not going to let me without making a change. It gives me this pop-up here where it says connection is not allowed, reason enumerated sets do not match. Now what's that mean? Okay, if I click into my output, you can see here that this state text of this output is off and on. It is an enumerated output, but it's not going to match what that output currently is. So one thing about CCT, it's automatically going to try to change that for me, okay, at this point in the logic. Now, if I grab this one and I try to make a connection here into the command hierarchy, it gives me the same thing. Okay, let's just go ahead and cancel that. If I try to connect this directly to that output, it gives me the same thing. Okay, because it knows that the output for what it's wanting, what this enumerated output is wanting, does not match. Okay, so let's go ahead for our output. I'm going to grab this and I'm going to write it to that output, and then I'm going to let it change that destination. And now when I double click into that, look what it's done. Off, on, and max. Okay? It has changed that for me. So now I'm going to close this out. And just as a demonstration, again, if I double check this one is off, on, control. Obviously it's very similar, 3 states, 3 different outputs, but it does not match. So I'm going to click in here, and if I wanted to make that connection, I could. But we're going to do it the other way. I'm going to double click in here. We can see my states. I'm going to click edit. And on this, I'm going to go in here, and you can see that number that I mentioned earlier. On, off, control. Here's that state. So I'm going to select that. Hit OK. Okay. And I'm going to hit apply. But wait, there's another problem. In the command hierarchy, I've got to tell it what I want it to do. So right here, I need to add another block. So I need to hit edit. And you can see here, when this is my input, this is my output. The blue is my output, the orange is my input. So obviously, when I click this, I am given the options of the input. With this set to off, when that input's off, I want the output of this command hierarchy to be off. When the input is on, I want the output of this command hierarchy to be on. But we still have a problem. What about my other one? Because you know that I have the control here, and I also have a max here. 2 completely different state texts. What I'm going to do, I'm going to right click in this box, and I'm going to select insert row. Now you can select 5 or 10, just depending on what you're doing with the command hierarchies. Okay? Right now I just need one more. Okay? So now I have got a row inserted, and I can actually rearrange this. Of course, I've got it highlighted here. I can go over to this arrow, and I can move that down. Well, just give me a second. I can rearrange it just whatever I need to do. Okay? So here, if this one is off, that output's off. Here, if this output is on, the output's on, and I'm changing this one. If it is in control, I'm going to change that to max. That way, any of my inputs, if my input is off, my output's going to be off. If the input is on, then my output's going to be on. And for this one, if my control is selected, then the output is going to be max. Now that may sound a little bit confusing. Where else can that come into play? Well, let's take just a minute. When I go to make this connection now, you're going to see that it automatically connects because I have the state text of this matching this. Okay, it could have changed it for me, but I've gone in and manually selected it. But let's dig a little deeper. I'm going to grab another enumerated input. I'm going to double click into this input. I'm going to change the state text to summer winter. So I'm going to pull up my window and I'm going to begin to type. Here we go, summer winter. In many systems, as soon as you switch to winter mode on a hot water system, you're going to want to start the pumps. Depending on your system, I know most of ours, whenever it is in winter mode, we're running those pumps. I'm going to hit apply. What happens if I need to go to an output and that output is on and off? It's a binary output. Now we have here a Boolean. Now that's an input. Wait just a minute, bear with me. I messed up. So let's get rid of this. I don't need that. So delete. I need an output. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to grab a Boolean output, because if I was going to go to an output to a pump, obviously I'm going to need an output. Now, this is a Boolean output. I have an enumerated input. If I try to connect that input to that output, it will do a translator for me. Okay? Enumerated to Boolean translator. Let's dig in here. This is basically the same thing. Okay? It creates basically a command hierarchy that does exactly what I needed it to do. False true on the output. Summer winter here. Okay, so let's close this out. Let's go back to our control screen. I'm going to grab an output. Select new. And we're going to do a search. Hot water pump. 24 volt maintained. Let's just grab one of those. And I'm going to select finish. Okay. Let's pull my connections panel back up. Here's my hot water pump. I'm going to go to connections. Okay, here's my pump. This is where I need to make that connection to that hardware output. So I'm going to right click this, make connection. I don't see my pump output. I cannot connect to that binary output because the state text for that output does not match that pump. It does not match it whatsoever. So let's hit cancel. The reason for that, when I go in here and look, let's look at this pump for a second. Let's double click it. Notice what the state text is for it. State text is on off or off on. Okay, when I go back in here, view details, the state text for my output, you would think would match, but it's not. It does not. It's false true. View logic. Output Boolean. See? Our state text, our setup, that does not match that output. So what do I do? Well, I'm going to close this. I'm going to grab an enumerated output and drag it out here. Double click. And you can see that my state text is on, off, off, on. That simple. So let's get rid of this since it's not going to work. Now I'm going to make my connection. Look what it has done. Let's zoom in just a bit. Enumerated to Boolean, and then Boolean to enumerated. I can get rid of these. Okay, I don't need to, just going one and then the other. However, if I try to make a connection, it gives me this window again. Let's cancel this a second because I want to show you something. If I bring my connections panel back up, you can see here the output, my input. This here is the connection that I would want to make. Let's go back over to our control. Let's look at our pump. Right click, make connection. Output control activity. I still do not have that output block. Okay? Output enumerated right there. I'm going to show you something first. I want to rename this. What I'm going to call this is pump start stop. Pump SS. Hit apply. Close. Now do you see that? Make connection. Here's my output. That physical output here. Now it is connected. However, my input will not connect to this output. If I tried, look what it does. I'm just going to connect that. Look what it tells me. It gives me the option of changing source or canceling. But I have got to have that summer-winter switch in my logic. You know, that summer-winter switch, I have other parts of my logic that needs that summer-winter switch. So what do? Well, that's where, again, our command hierarchy comes into play. Let's just go ahead and get rid of these. I don't need these now. Now our command hierarchy, I can pull it down here. I can double click in here. You can see I've got these 3 blocks that I don't need now. Okay, so what I can do, I'm going to delete a row because I don't need 3 of them. My input, just as we did earlier, I can either change it here or I can simply take my input here, my summer winter, grab it, drag it in, connect it, and it will change for me. But I got a problem. I told you I had to have that summer winter, and look what it did for me. It changed that source. That's not what I needed to do. So I needed to put this back. It doesn't need to be on-off control. This needs to be a summer winter. So I'm going to put it back to summer winter. And when I put it back to summer winter, I have another problem though. When I hit save or apply, it gives me this error. The invalid connection will be removed, and that is because it does not match the command hierarchy. That's something that you can accidentally do. See, if I change source, I don't want to change the source because I need that summer winter. If I need that state text to be summer winter, I've got to have it as summer winter. So what I will do then is simply come in here on the command hierarchy. I'm going to hit edit. And then here for the input section of the command hierarchy, this upper section here is all of your inputs that you're going to be putting into it. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to type in summer winter. Select it. Again, those numbers match. That's what you want to go by. Make sure that number match. Hit OK. Hit apply. And you can see here, we're going to come back in here because you see my output. We know that that output is going to be different. I'm going to hit close because we're going to do this first. Here's my summer winter switch for my input. I can connect it up and my connection is made. Now, again, let's repeat this. Here's my output from the command hierarchy. If I try to take it to the pump, it's not letting me drop it. Okay? I have to have that state text on this output to be off on. Because if I don't, I cannot make that connection to my output. So what I do is I go back into the command hierarchy. Okay? The units, I go back up to my edit. This is my output section of the command hierarchy. Okay, I'm going to pull my screen up. And again, all I need, off, on. I'm going to select that. I'm going to hit OK. It changes this. My default output is off. But when I select over here, when I go to winter mode, I want my output to be on. Okay, just like that. Because there again, it's going to be a pump for the winter time. I want that state to be on when we're in winter mode. I'm going to hit apply. I'm going to close. And now I'm going to highlight that, click on it, and I am going to make my connection to my pump. Okay? It's that simple because of the state texts and everything. Connecting the pump to that activity output is done much easier through that, because there again, if I have to make a connection, if I have an enumerated input, a software switch on the front of my desktop or wherever, just create a network input right here. I need to tie into that. So when I go to make my connection, make connection, no blocks with matching criteria found. And why is that? Very simple. Again, it is my state text. Okay? It is on off right now. That's not what I need. So I'm going to hit my edit button, simply come in here and change to the summer winter again. Just like this. I select summer winter, hit OK, hit apply, and just to make it look neat, let's go ahead and change our name. Save that, hit apply, close this window out. Now I need to make my connection into my logic block right here. Right click, make connection, and now I can connect to that point. Okay? That is the basic principles of your state text. Now when you get into some of your complex programs, don't let them scare you, because it's virtually the same thing. If you have to go in and modify a program slightly, or a logic block, and you need to pull one point in to another, you can use the command hierarchy and then just change the state text to get it to work. But guys, it's just a basic video to give you a little better understanding of how the state texts and enumerated inputs and outputs work in Johnson Controls CCT. Hope you liked the video. Leave me a comment down below. Thanks for watching. Check out the rest of the videos on the channel, and we'll see you next time.